Good evening, race fans. Thank you for tuning into DRL TV. My name is Getty Buckner. I will be joined tonight by Taylor Butcher Benjamin, and it will be our pleasure to bring you live action of the Dynasty Racing League Truck Series. Last week, we were at the high-banked, D-shaped oval of Rockingham Speedway. After starting on the pole, Wade Hustad, in his third attempt this season, would win the race after leading a staggering 106 out of 125 laps. Jeffrey Meyer, our current points leader in the Dynasty Racing League Truck Series, finished third. Championship hopefuls Richard Springer and Dakota Wilkins would round out our top five. Tonight, race number 8 takes us to the oldest operating motor speedway in the world, the Milwaukee Mile. This flat 1 mile oval opened in 1903. After starting as a dirt track for horse racing, the Milwaukee Mile was paved in 1954. And up until a few years ago, it saw annual visits from the NASCAR Truck Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the IndyCar Series. Now, as these drivers continue to get ready for tonight's event, we bring in the voice of the DRL Truck Series, Mr. Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Taylor, with only 9 degrees of banking, passing is going to be next to impossible. What kinds of things can a driver do to pass at a track like the Milwaukee Mile?
That's a very good question, Getty. I mean, all this 9 degrees of banking does make it very difficult. Basically, you got to be able to, kind of like Martinsville, kind of roll the center pretty good and try to get a good run off the corner better than the truck that's in front of you to try to get alongside them before entry. And pit road is going to be probably the best way to make up his distance, quite frankly, because it's hard to pass them on the track, like you said, and getting spots on pit road can really help out these drivers.
Well, with only 9 degrees of banking, this is the smallest amount of banking that we'll see, I believe, this season next to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And as you mentioned, it very, very hard to pass here. And you noted a couple ways to get on. Most importantly, pit road. Pit road entry here is a little bit different than some. It's a very sharp left in instead of kind of a rolling left, is what we've seen at most of our other tracks. But as the season's unfolded so far, let's take a look at the point standings as we enter tonight. Jeffrey Meyer hanging on to that points lead. Casey Drake, a little bit of a shakeup after we saw a poor performance from P.J. O'Leary as he got, he was involved in a wreck there at Rockingham. Same with Jeremy Hebel. Hebel does have the points to, or he has the wins rather, to kind of lock him into the playoffs at this point. Another driver that you don't see on this list is going to be Marvin Wingfield. We're going to talk to Marvin Wingfield. He finished well here last season. He's had some good runs this season. A lot of it, a lot of luck certainly not going his way. But as we pull Marvin Wingfield inside the DRL TV broadcast booth, Martin, welcome.
Hey man, it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. You're looking pretty good in practice so far. 4th quickest. Got yourself a top 5 in this race a year ago. Sitting 20th in the point standings. This could be a big night for you if you can repeat that performance. Tell our viewers what makes you so good here and what's the key to a good lap around here.
Well, I think the key to a good lap around here is sticking to the bottom in the turns. And if you can roll the center and maintain the speed off the turn, I think, and go into the straights with all that speed, I think you can really get a fast lap here entering the turns. You got to maintain it and, like I said, roll the speed.
Now, we mentioned just before you came in here, we brought the point standings. Obviously, right now you're not sitting exactly where you want to be. You are outside of the playoff cutoff, but it's not because of lack of speed or lack of talent. It's a lot of, you've been getting involved in kind of other people's situation. At ISM, you were involved with an incident at, with Jeremy Hebel, you were involved with an incident at Auto Club. It took you, 2 great finishes, basically right off the board. As we're heading into, kind of the meat of the season, where, this is, it starts to get pretty important each race. What kind of things do you plan on doing to make sure you propel yourself up into a playoff spot?
Well, just like you had said, it's really getting into the meat of the season, and I think every race counts. And if I can just run my race and stay out of controversy, which, like you said, hadn't been too easy for me this year, but if I can just keep finishing the races and keep trucking along, I think I can get in the playoff spot and hopefully make a good playoff push.
All right, Martin. Well, it's going to be our pleasure to be able to broadcast this race tonight. We hope that you can kind of duplicate what you had last season. Good luck to you, sir, and hopefully we talk to you at the end of the race as a top 3 finisher.
Yes, sir.
Just keep on trucking along. I like how that sounds. We're gonna bring in our runner-up in the point standings last year, Daniel Holloway, who did not actually race in this race a year ago as he joined the league a little bit later. Daniel Holloway, you got a copy, sir?
I sure do.
Well, you didn't run this race a year ago in this league, but you got your teammate Jeffrey Meyer up there leading the points and leading practice right here. What kind of advice has he been giving you, and how do you feel about your chances tonight?
Well, for one, those chickens, hopefully we're up on top tonight's race, but it's been a long time since I raced this track. I'm starting to find my groove. Last time I've been on this track was in the Indy cars, and it was fun. But these are trucks and a little bit heavier and slower, and just see time tonight and just kind of run my race tonight. Hopefully get a good night finished.
Now, for our viewers, I'm bringing up the point standings yet again. You do sit 11th, but there's a driver below you in the points that has a win, so technically right now you're sitting 12th, just at that cutoff. Certainly not where you thought you would be at this point in the season. We just interviewed Marvin Wingfield, and you two kind of have had similar fate, where you've had the speed, but kind of getting involved in a couple incidences that weren't quite your fault. Certainly put an end to some great runs that you had this season. As we're heading into the middle part of our season, what sort of things, what kind of tracks are we going to that you look forward to kind of moving up into the standings where you probably are more, expecting where you should belong?
I know I had 2 races. One of them, I call electrical issue steering. Fighting with that one, so that kind of hurt me. And then one race get caught up in a mess. That's racing. Yeah, it's early in the season. If I hit my marks, keep hitting top 10s, 5s, and get that first DRL win here, soon and stuff like that. That'll be a big achievement right there. But each week it's a good field in this Truck Series. There's a lot of drivers in here that can win one, and back in my mind, I'm fighting to where I need to win one, because I have a feeling we might have more than 12 winners, and so I'm thinking I need to get at least 1 win in this season.
Well, Dan, it's always a pleasure, and we hope that we can talk to you at the end of this race as a top 3 finisher, or possibly here in just a few minutes as a potential pole sitter. You certainly have the speed, you certainly have the talent, and I know we're all waiting for you to almost have that breakout performance that kind of gets your year going in the right direction. And the last year you had a couple of those that kind of, you put your foot in the door and you're like, kind of proving that you're here and you belong. Hopefully we can get some more runs out of you that are similar to that, and hopefully, we can talk to you at the end of this race.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Dover was pretty good. I almost, if it wasn't for the Wade and them, I think I would have won my first race last year, but there's some good tracks coming up. I'm ready to go, ready to get this season, get this race going tonight. Have a good night.
Awesome, Dan. Well, you have a good race, and we'll talk to you later.
Take care, guys.
That was Daniel Holloway, just sitting, kind of on that cusp there with a lot of decent drivers as well, but he doesn't have that win in his back pocket like some of those other drivers do. Certainly motivated to get that first DRL win. It's very rewarding. I got my first official DRL win week 1 of the season, and it's different from an official win, but
absolutely. I mean, I still haven't won in this DRL series yet, but I'm sure when and if it happens, then it'd be pretty special as we get qualifying underway here. Someone else who is still looking for his first career DRL win was our champion from last year, Robbie Armstrong. And I'm going to be keeping my eye on him tonight because last year he started 18th, ran up in the top 5 late actually with a pretty clean truck, but then got spun out late and finished only 10th. But if he can make it through the end, he's shown a lot of strength here on these short tracks. Finished second at Martinsville last year, almost won Martinsville a few weeks ago. So he has the potential here to possibly add his name to the win column.
You are absolutely correct. Now, right now, we're riding along with Daniel Holloway. Those who are unfamiliar with the Milwaukee Mile, you can see just the enormous amounts of space that you have here. Most of it, though, in the corners, as we will see later on, isn't usable because, unlike New Hampshire, there isn't progressive banking. It's 9 degrees all the way through. It doesn't like start at 9 degrees and kind of taper up, in an effort to promote racing on, different lines, an outside line or anything like that. That doesn't exist here. So the line that you're watching Daniel Holloway take here in 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, that's where everyone's going to be, and that's why at the top of the broadcast I asked Taylor, how do you pass here? It's going to be very, very hard. We're going to see, a little bit later on, especially as these tires get warm, and, we're going to see who can take care of that right front, because that's going to be so important here on this flat track. And we're also going to see, who has the most patience. At the end of this race, if there's a faster car behind, behind a truck, you're almost going to see like a Martinsville-style mentality where, this track is technically a mile, just like the one we went to last week, but it is very much a one-groove racetrack, and, it does have that short track feel sometimes, Taylor.
Yeah, it does. I mean, quite frankly, as see some more guys out on the track, it is a one-groove track. Basically, it's as simple as this. Entering the corners is basically, you can see through the corner, it's around the bottom is rubbered up, and anything off the bottom is pretty much in what we call the gray. So basically keep your truck in the rubbered up part of the track and you should be okay.
Now, a driver who we've spoke about the last couple weeks here as a driver who has kind of had a really rough start at the beginning of the season. Austin Collins currently has the fastest time here in qualifying, knocking off Robbie Armstrong. Corey Sherman, who has had some good runs lately. Last week he had a tire strategy call that didn't quite pay off for him. He sits third. Marvin Wingfield, who we just spoke to, sits in fourth. Jarrett Rogers, who is Austin Collins' teammate, who does have that pole, I believe, I think that was at Atlanta, he currently sits fifth. But we are watching Jeremy Hebel try to make his lap here, a minute and 19 seconds left. Casey Drake, Richard Springer have yet to put a lap time down.
Hebel spun out on his first lap, I believe.
Yeah, no, he did.
So let's see what kind of time he gets. Finished third in this race a year ago. Pole. First driver in the 29-second bracket.
Now, Jeremy Hebel, speaking to Daniel Holloway, Jeremy Hebel is our only repeat winner this season. So starting from the pole, that that says something. I mean, he could still be our only repeat winner, but with win number 3. But we've also seen with Jeremy at the end of these races, for some reason, with the exception of Martinsville, he always seems to kind of find a way to almost give it away, if you will. We saw it at ISM when he crossed over Marvin Wingfield's nose. We saw it last week when he was battling on the outside of a restart and lost control of his truck. So great speed there, but certainly qualifying doesn't mean everything.
I'm looking at Richard Springer right here. He's got to really dig to get this lap in. I'm not sure if he'll get there in time. Oh, he just barely missed it. He's going to have to start at the rear of the field.
Now, at a track that's so hard to pass, that is going to be tough. I mean, that's almost going to be an automatic 2-tire stop, which we should. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of that today. But in order to get up to the front, we're almost going to have to see, an Adam Who was it last week? Which Adam was it that took those two
So,
tires and it ended up sticking?
Is it Purcell, I believe?
Yeah,
I
and
can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think it was Adam Purcell, the 29. He's actually not in this race today. But let's bring in our pole sitter, Jeremy Hebel. We'll bring him up here to the broadcast booth. Jeremy Hebel, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations on your pole. We noted that you're our only repeat winner this season. What do you have to do to win your third race of the season here?
Be consistent and patient with these long, flat corners. You get on the gas too quick or you drive it in there too hard, you're going to push and either go into the wall or get spun out. So that's going to be the name of the game, is easy on the brakes, easy on the gas, and keep it pointing in the right direction.
Now, I've noted you could have easily won a couple other races, but at the end of the race, it seems that you kind of always find yourself in a precarious situation. What do you have to do here to avoid it at a track that's so hard to pass, and you could easily, one little mistake could end your night or at least put you back in the back of the field?
I guess, probably what I hope for is that we can have some nice, long green flag runs here and just stay out, hit my marks every lap, and hope for the best.
Now, are you familiar? Do you know what the fuel window is here at Milwaukee?
I should have paid attention to that in practice, but I didn't. So no, I don't.
All right. Well, I guess it'll be a surprise then. I
guess
Jeremy.
so.
Well, you have a great race, and good luck to you, sir. Hopefully we talk to you at the end of this thing.
All right. Thank you.
Now, that was Jeremy Hebel, our pole sitter. No stranger to leading these races. Certainly no stranger to adversity this season as well. Now,
Yep, he's been kind of hit or miss. And one thing to kind of keep an eye on here on this initial start, new rule that's been put in place in the Dynasty Racing League is if you're at fault for a caution coming out 5 laps after the initial start or a restart, you could be held for 30 seconds on pit road. I actually got one of those at Bristol the other day after spinning my tires on the initial start, and there was actually a wreck last year in this race, turn 3, lap 1. So hopefully these guys can sort it out at the beginning and get going okay.
yeah, and we see here drivers, the outside on fresh tires, it's going to be kind of at a disadvantage. So you're going to see these drivers try to force it to get back down to the inside, almost as you would at Martinsville, as the pace car is just about to pull off, and we are set to go green here in the Milwaukee Mile. Green flag is out. Hebel with a good jump, and they head into turn 1 for 125 laps here at the Milwaukee Mile.
And just as we expected, Austin Collins quickly jumped down to protect that inside. Corey Sherman still hung out. Now the front of the field beginning to sort out single file.
Almost everyone in the top 10 immediately gets single file here. But what we mentioned is one little slip up and that truck behind you is going to be in your rear end. We're going to see, this type of track does promote, the occasional checkup, and it's up to the driver behind you to check up as well as you do, or else you're going to go around here. And with the amount of room that we have in these corners, normally if you get spun, it doesn't mean you're going to hit the wall. It just means you're going to go to the back of the pack, and we're about to see here how hard passing is. We're going to watch Casey Drake try to take a position away from the 83 of William Wingfield.
Oh, we'll see him actually. We actually see Adam Purcell actually is in this race, and he's right in front of Casey Drake. That was a little close there. Adam Purcell opens the bottom though, and I don't know if he just lets Casey go or if he meant to drive it up there.
Now, something that we didn't see too much, we saw it at Martinsville, we don't see it at a lot of places. Drivers opting to use third gear here, as you can actually hear it in Casey Drake. He is downshifting to try to get that extra little run off. That does help get that forward bite, but if you're a little bit later in the run and maybe you haven't been taking care of your tires, certainly that's very easy to open yourself up to a potential spin.
You gotta really be careful with that as we see Casey complete that pass. She drives it off into turn 3. It's so easy to overdrive these corners based on how I mean, you are carrying some pretty decent speed in there, even though it is a relatively flat track. Well, not relatively, the flattest track we go to. See Casey Drake, 147 miles an hour entering turn 1 there.
And we were looking back at Roy Grande Jr. trying to attempt a pass on Wingfield. That is for 13th. We move back up to this battle for 8th place as Casey Drake has moved past Adam Purcell and now Dakota Wilkins and does set his sights on Daniel Holloway. Now we have Jeffrey Meyer looking inside of Jarrett Rogers for the 5th position. Jeffrey Meyer, our current points leader, he has 1 DRL win to his name last year at Las Vegas. He has not won this season yet. He's come close though a couple times. He certainly had the truck at Atlanta. He had the truck at Auto Club. It just kind of ran out of time.
Yeah, he only needed about another lap or 2, and a tough break for Jordan Berry. Joined the field late and apparently is having some kind of connection issue. So before his race even gets underway, it's over.
And that's unfortunate because Jordan Berry, he's been very, very fun to watch. One of the more entertaining drivers to see, you know, how he almost has a completely different way of going around some of these tracks. Now we have Robbie Armstrong trying to make a move on Austin Collins for the 2nd spot. And now at this point in the run, Taylor, we're going to start seeing who took care of their stuff and who didn't. It's almost... You're certainly going to see the have and the have-nots here as to who knows how to get around this place the best.
Yeah, it's going to show up quickly. There's definitely going to be some comers and goers. And one of the comers right now is Casey Drake, as he's all over the back end of Daniel Holloway. Started 14th, already up 5 positions to 9th, and looking for more.
Yeah, and someone who's fallen back a little bit I see is Jarrett Rogers, as he's under fire from Marvin Wingfield and that group with that Daniel Holloway and Casey Drake.
Right now the track is at 100 degrees. It's a little bit cooler than what these guys were dealing with in practice, as we have a caution.
Caution involves David Wellborn and several other drivers here.
Wow.
My goodness. Let's try to get a replay of what happened there.
Oh.
Looks like Grande
Richard
Jr.
Springer.
slid up.
Man, look at the way they're all spitting in there. It's almost like there was oil or something. Obviously there wasn't oil, but I mean, that was kind of wild.
We're going to watch one more replay of that from Richard Springer's view.
He got some damage. He slid into the side of BJ O'Leary, I believe it was. Not too hard of a hit, but man.
Now, what I can see there, being a more experienced driver, I can tell you right now that Richard Springer is running a lot of rear brake.
Yes.
And and that's something that you're going to see here. You can't quite do it at places like Martinsville because you have to brake so hard here. But here, it kind of helps the car rotate if you can handle it. But if you have to check up at all, that's going to bring a lot of chaos, to yourself that you're especially not expecting.
Well, to start that wreck, man, everybody was just so loose getting down to turn 1. William Wingfield was running ahead of Roy Grande Jr. They both kind of started to lose their trucks at the same time, and then they kind of met together. And
well, all but the top 3 decided to pit here.
That's very interesting about those. Everybody besides Hebel and Robbie Armstrong.
And of the people that decided to pit, I believe everyone took 4 tires. So that is going to be very, very interesting. I know track position is very, very important here, but to come in and not at least take 2 for those leaders, I'm not sure if I agree with that. And they may not agree with it here in just a second as well when we get back under green.
Well, if you're going to try it, I mean, I guess it's better to try it early and see what it'll do. And if it doesn't work, then these guys that stayed out will know not to do that again.
Exactly. Well, here on DRL TV, guys, we broadcast 3 times a week. We're going to take a quick 60-second break that highlight our 3 series. And when we return, we'll get back to the green flag racing here at the Milwaukee Mile. Welcome back to DRL TV. We're getting set for our first technically first restart, our second start of the day here, lap 13 and 125. The top three leaders did not pit. Dakota Wilkins will benefit the most as he moves up several positions, but our leader and second place driver decided to stay out. So we'll see what Austin Collins, Jeffrey Meyer can do on these guys that have these 13 lap older tires, as we are just about ready to go green here at the Milwaukee Mile.
And the first truck with fresh tires is on the outside, though. As Jeremy Hebel gets a good start, and he's going to need it. Robbie not quite able to get down and cover up second, although he might. There he goes.
Jeffrey Meyer has to check up pretty hard there. You see him trying to dive inside and take that position away from Dakota Wilkins. He's going to, you can see right in the center of that corner, he just gets all that bite from those fresh tires, and now he sets his sights on Robbie Armstrong in second. And behind these guys, it looks like absolute mayhem. 2 by 2, Casey Drake now trying to move himself into, I believe that is 5th position.
Well, Austin Collins kind of had a tough break, as being that first truck on fresh tires on the outside, he got passed by Jeffrey Meyer and Casey Drake.
Now let's ride on board with Jeffrey Meyer as we watch him try to chase down Robbie Armstrong here on those fresh tires.
See if he shifts. Doesn't look like it. Oh, actually, there he goes.
Yep, so some drivers are shifting more in the center to almost help get the car to rotate. He is just shifting for the sole purpose of getting that forward bite on exit. And right there, you can see what I mean. He downshifted just through, just as he was approaching the center of that corner, and you could almost see the truck, just jerk to the left. Hugely beneficial. Right now, he's not gaining. I mean, he's certainly gaining, but passing these trucks like Robbie and Jeremy, that's still gonna be hard no matter what, because again, this is only one groove.
He's gonna have to get a run, as he almost stuffed it in there, but he's gonna have to get a run on exit and get alongside him down the straightaway. I mean, yeah, even with these 4 fresh tires that he has, that just shows how difficult it is to pass here.
Now, with two tires, we see that 2 tires versus no tires, there's a small window where it benefits, and then after a while it almost tapers off, so they're back to even. But 4 versus none, we'll see how many laps it takes for Jeffrey Meyer to kind of go back to the speeds that the guys that are running, that only took 2 tires, see what they're running. But right now, he was the fastest truck of those top 3 that last time by. The fastest truck, however, was Austin Collins in the 6th truck, which is unfortunate, him being a couple tenths faster, but because he got stuck on the outside of that restart, instead of being 4th or something like that, he is in 6th. And in order to pass now, he has to get past people with fresh tires like Casey Drake and Corey Sherman.
Well, now Jeffrey Meyer, he's looking to the inside of Robbie Armstrong. Still can't quite make it stick.
Now Jeffrey Meyer, we know that he is very aggressive with his moves on entry. We saw that last week with his, with a move between he and Brady Briggs. If he thinks he can make it stick, he's gonna put it in there. So you got to be careful, if you're Robbie, to make sure that you're kind of paying attention to what Jeffrey Meyer is doing.
Well, he got a good run on exit that time, and he's going to complete that pass.
And meanwhile, Corey Sherman, Casey Drake starting to engage on a battle of their own, but it won't be long. If Robbie Armstrong, one slip up, and he could be back to 7th place. Daniel Holloway, who restarted 3rd, is already back to 8th, which I believe is where he was before he stayed out, so not much of a gain there.
Oh, Meyer was really loose off that corner.
Let's ride on board with Austin Collins to see what the Milwaukee Mile looks like to him. Now, we saw last year, our race winner was Wade Hustad. We saw him almost using that the curbs to his advantage. We're not seeing a driver get quite as low as he was last season. And it looks like Jeffrey Meyer has caught Jeremy Hebel.
Even I said he got sideways off turn 4 that lap a couple of laps ago, but he actually is still about a tenth and a half quicker.
And you hear Jeremy kind of have to play with a little bit of the throttle on exit, and you know that's due to the fact that his tires have 10 extra laps of green flag racing on them. And you see him move up a little bit. Jeffrey Meyer absolutely closes in on him. Huge. A little bit of wiggle there from Jeremy. And just behind these guys, Casey Drake is engaging in a battle of his own with Corey Sherman for the fourth position. Excuse me.
Well, Jeremy, he can feel the pressure from Meyer. He got a little bit loose in the center. He's getting off the corner well, though.
Well, part of that is because he's blocking the one advantage that Jeffrey has right now, and that's the center. Jeffrey Meyer obviously can't drive through Jeremy. He has to check up. And he basically right now is going to be waiting until Jeremy Hebel slides up the track, you know, due to overdriving at some point, and he'll be able to get right underneath him. But right now, Jeremy's doing a great job of being a defensive driving here. In the meantime, nope, sorry.
He's being defensive, but he's not like he's blocking. I mean, he's not really like throwing huge blocks. I mean, he's running the line he needs to run in order to keep Meyer behind him, which is still within that, still within that patch on the bottom. You know, the rubbered up part. He's just fighting it at that time though. But he's doing what he needs to do.
And we see that these drivers are going to maybe start approaching some lap traffic. The lap truck of William Wingfield is now in the frame. Casey Drake we see underneath Corey Sherman. Side-by-side battle for fourth.
He should get that spot enter, and Sherman has a pretty big gap. Well, not that big, but enough to not lose any more spots.
Now, at the top of the hour, we mentioned how long does a driver stay patient before they, make an aggressive move. We saw Jeffrey Meyer right up on the bumper of Jeremy Hebel. He is probably one of those drivers that doesn't normally remain patient very long. So Jeremy, at some point, he's gotta be, almost at the point of, hey, I gotta save my truck here. If I keep trying to stay in Jeffrey Meyer's way, I'm gonna end up getting turned here.
Yeah, Brady Briggs can attest to that after last week. But yeah, Meyer is it's not going to be too long before he says, "All right, I've got to."
Marvin Wingfield, Jarrett Rogers there. A little bit of a dicey situation on the exit of 3 and 4, as we saw just at the top of our frame. As we keep an eye on our battle here for the lead, we'll see what happens with William Wingfield.
Oh, got a caution.
Matt Vanderkoy.
On the front stretch. Adam Breeden as well on the front stretch.
We'll get a replay of
Cody
that.
Gatsky. The 27 also.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there. He did get tagged by David Wellborn. We'll watch that one more time, see if we can get a better view of it. As they enter turns 3 and 4, Matt Vanderkoy taking a higher line. David gets a great run off. He tries to check up. Man, look at Matt Vanderkoy. Just barely slides through and gets no contact from the wall. Cody Gatsky, not as lucky, as we will look on board and see what happened to his truck.
And Matt Vanderkoy, that looked like Chase Elliott in the Cup race when he got spun out of the lead and just barely missed the inside wall. Cody Gatsky, on the other hand,
he just got loose checking up, and we saw that in the first caution. He just got loose checking up, and the 01 had nowhere to go.
Well, Gatsky was well up off the corner. I guess just got on the brakes just a tad too hard, but enough to send that truck sideways as everybody is on pit road this time.
Now we're going to take one last ride with Matt Vanderkoy and see what he saw. Whew, that was close.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I know Matt Vanderkoy, he's going to need 4 fresh tires and a change of pants, I imagine. That was very, very close. But we also saw he had a very weird shallow exit, which certainly gave David Wellborn, who had a run on him, that was very, very hard for him to almost navigate. But either way, here on DRL TV, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get back to more green flag racing here at Milwaukee. Lap 31 of 125 is in the books, and when we return, more racing for the DRL Truck Series.
Assists to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Lead to the inside goes Logan Clapman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
I'm going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried this contact though. Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Leonard drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And we are set to get the green flag. Once again, the drivers have the 1 to go. Half a lap till the pace car does pull off, and we can get back to green flag racing here at Milwaukee. Just a reminder, next week, Bristol Motor Speedway is what we will be visiting here. Very, very interesting track coming up. That'll be highly entertaining for sure. But for this time, for this restart, we've got Jeremy Hebel, Robbie Armstrong up front. Jeffrey Meyer starts on the inside row. We saw what happened to Austin Collins when he started on the outside, which he will again. So we'll see if Robbie Armstrong, Casey Drake can kind of hang onto their trucks and not lose too many spots. As we watch Jeremy Hebel get a great jump again.
Really surprised. Well, I guess Meyer's able to keep Robbie Armstrong up there. I was actually a little surprised he didn't make more of an aggressive move to try to protect that like Casey Drake did.
Well, we saw in the back, I thought we were going to see spin. Jarrett Rogers absolutely cut the nose of Corey Sherman trying to get to the inside. So that's, I mean, these drivers know how important it is.
Robbie way up the racetrack. Jeremy Hebel beginning to check out.
Oh, Casey Drake trying to make a move.
Oh, he's going to have a shallow entry, though. Oh, man, he almost hit the end of the pit wall right there. The way it sticks out. Jeremy Hebel's loving this. Already out to more than a second lead.
Now we saw the speed that Jeffrey Meyer had on those on that 4-tire advantage. Now let's see what happens when he has the same tires. How his speed relates to the leaders now. As Casey Drake still all over Jeffrey Meyer, and in the back, a lot of movement here. Adam Purcell trying to make a pass here on Daniel Holloway. Marvin Wingfield, who restarted up in 6th, but he was on the outside. He's trying to get back up near the top 5 as he's dropped down to 8th on this restart.
Robbie Armstrong settled into 4th after a close call up in the loose stuff a couple of laps ago. But how about Casey Drake? I mean, the last few weeks, remember Martinsville, he started 17th and quickly worked his way through the field to finish 3rd. I mean, he's shown that even though he might not qualify that fantastic, he's been a lot better in the race making his way through the field.
Yeah, patience is key, and patience is a trait that you learn. It's not something that you're born with, man. You can see the way he navigates through the field. He knows when and when not to push the issue. Something last year, you know, we saw him get involved with in a lot of incidents when he was, you know, over driving the truck. And you know, as soon as you learn that sometimes slower is faster, that's really all it takes. But we've got Jeremy Hebel out to a 7/10 of a second lead. You have these three trucks here, and then back we have Robbie Armstrong, or Jarrett Rogers, leading that next group. Everyone is single file now, except for this battle back here between Chris Rice, David Wellborn, and Dakota Wilkins.
Well, Jeffrey Meyer is closing back in on Jeremy Hebel, this time on even tires. We got another caution over in turn 2.
Matt
Dustin
Vanderkoy.
Eichert and Matt Vanderkoy again. It's the second time for both of those drivers.
And we are looking at Matt Vanderkoy, see exactly what happened.
Oh, actually, David Wellborn in front of him.
Ooh. And for the third time in a row.
That looked like another rear brake situation.
Well, for the second time in a row, Matt Vanderkoy spins his truck but gets 0 damage. Let's see what happened to David Wellborn here, as we just missed it there. Let's try to watch this one more time. He is watching the battle between Dakota Wilkins and Chris Rice. Looks like he's kind of trying to make a move on Dakota, and almost has to check up a bit, and he does. He doesn't make any contact with anything until Dustin Eichert gives him a little bit of shot in the rear.
Yeah, he had it straightened out until then, and you're right about Matt Vanderkoy once again spinning that truck and not touching anything.
Well, I tell you, David Wellborn, that type of damage, I don't know if that's going to affect him too much. I think he'll still be good to go once he gets some 4 fresh tires. But Dustin Eichert, however, not so lucky. That, you know, rear end damage is certainly way more, it's way more forgiving.
I believe Daniel Holloway took some notes of what Jeremy Hebel was able to do, and he has stayed on the racetrack along with a couple others.
Yeah, he and Chris Rice are among the leaders that stayed out. Matt, I believe that's Roy Grande Jr. that decided to stay out. Or no, that's Matt Vanderkoy that decided to stay out, trying to get, I think, a waiver round. No?
Yeah, he is a lap down.
Yeah, but he will not get it because of the driver, because of the leaders that stayed out.
Yeah, and of course he was involved in the caution. But, yeah, so top 2 and the first truck with tires, again, will be Jeffrey Meyer.
Now, we saw Jeremy Hebel stay out on old tires, and we know that he had a lot of speed. He put down a qualifying lap that was absolutely remarkable. He's led most of this race. Now, for drivers like Daniel Holloway and Chris Rice that were kind of in the middle of the pack there, and they were battling side by side a lot, so they put extra stress on those tires. I'm not exactly sure, how that's going to pan out, but one thing I do know is Jeffrey Meyer and Daniel Holloway are teammates. Hopefully, if there is a situation where he's holding up Jeff, I think Jeff will be able to work past his teammate pretty well. But Jarrett Rogers takes 2, as did Jeffrey Meyer, and that's the reason why they're ahead of Jeremy Hebel, who sits in 5th. So this is more of what I was expecting to see, the 2 tire stops versus the no tire stops. The no tire stops are very, very surprising to me.
We saw Chris Rice make this work at Auto Club, I think it was. Obviously, this is a much different type of track than Auto Club, but yeah, he was back. Was he running before that caution? I think outside the top 10, and I believe at Auto Club he was running outside the top 20 and made the strategy work. So he's certainly accustomed to at least trying it.
Right. The only difference between this race and the race at Auto Club is he did it at the end of the race. Right now it's right in the middle where, if we get a long green flag run, which does seem to be the trend here in the Truck Series this season, You know, he could move back, and we've only got a few trucks lapped down, 18 trucks on the lead lap. He could move back. And we saw with Dakota, not only could he move back, he could move back in a hurry.
Let's see what pans out as the pace car is about to turn off. Lap 44. Holloway gets a good restart.
A little bit of a hesitation there from Chris Rice as Jarrett Rogers is trying to look inside, and he will take it three wide.
And Rice is in a tough spot here.
Looking at the leader though, Jeffrey Meyer inside of Daniel Holloway, but behind him, absolute mayhem. Robbie Armstrong looking for a spot here, maybe on Casey Drake. Didn't quite get it though.
Meyer makes the pass on his teammate. Well, there's Jeremy Hebel making the up on the curb a little bit, up on the rumble strip. Jarrett Rogers.
He blocks Casey Drake. It does not work though. Casey Drake could get a twofer here in turns 1 and 2. He passes Jarrett Rogers and clears Daniel Holloway. And leaves Jarrett Rogers stuck behind him. You almost use him as a pick here, as Robbie Armstrong will get past him as well.
Holloway is continuing to get hung on the outside. Here comes Rogers. I mean, it depends to me on how strong your truck is driving, if you're going to make the stay-out strategy work. Chris Rice is able to work his way to the bottom and is back to 7th, although he's got a snarling pack of drivers behind him.
Now, as we're watching this unfold, Jeffrey Meyer has pulled out 2 7/10 of a second lead and getting those valuable points for his lead. As one thing we tried to note, PJ O'Leary, another, he was top 3 in the points last week, had a rough race. Currently, right now, he has a lot of damage and currently sits in 12th. But Casey Drake, as we pull up the points here, Casey Drake is just behind Jeremy Hebel, who's in 2nd. So Jeffrey Meyer, he's leading these laps, but Casey Drake's not too far off of him. Look at Holloway.
He's trying to fight back. Look at Austin Collins behind him. Yeah, power move into that corner. Oh, Holloway can't put the power down and stay underneath Jarrett Rogers. We got a wreck in the back. Matt Vanderkoy involved again. David Wellborn involved again.
We watch him go almost 3 wide in 1 and 2.
And
David Wellborn
actually made some contact that time.
Matt Vanderkoy spins for the 3rd time and barely gets any damage at all, but David Wellborn looks like he overdrives it just a tad. Let's ride on board with him here.
Oh, he might have. Oh, he got into Roy Grande Jr. first, and then he got hit from behind by William Winkfield.
Now that one's hard to call, in my opinion. I'm trying to see if we can get a different camera view here. I'm trying to see if Roy Grande Jr. comes down more than David Wellborn comes up here. Looking, I'm just not sure. That might be on David. Normally in DRL, anytime there's a wreck, you have to pin that on the driver that is making the passing attempt. But if you obviously someone drives across your nose, that's a little bit different. But I think in that situation,
he could have been down lower on the racetrack.
Yeah, according to DRL rules, you would kind of expect David Wellborn to almost back out and try again here.
Well, needless to say, for a couple of these drivers, it's been a rough night.
Yeah, Matt Vanderkoy, though, spinning 3 times, still only a lap down with minimal damage. Later on in the race, we'll see where he finishes, but some of those maneuvers, we'll see if that ends up paying off for him. Now we've
some
got
more strategy calls. Jeffrey Meyer faked coming to pit road and decided to stay out the last second, along with Robbie Armstrong and Jarrett Rogers.
Yeah, the top 5 decide to stay out. Jeremy Hebel, Marvin Wingfield, they pit, but they only took 2.
Austin Collins stayed out as well.
Now, who this affects a lot. The first driver to get 4 tires, Casey Drake, goes from running 3rd to being in 8th. So that's a big shakeup right now, currently. We'll see if he can get through the field. We know he has the speed, he just has to have the patience. This will be a great test for him.
Well, that's what Jeffrey Meyer was hoping for, is that he stayed out and got a decent amount of drivers behind him to do the same thing.
All right.
We saw just how long it took for Meyer to get up there to battle Hebel when Meyer was on the fresher tires, so this could work out for him if Hebel has a tough time getting through this traffic.
Yeah, it all depends on the restart. We also saw in that last restart, Chris Rice was a little bit slow to get up to speed, and that backed everyone up, which allowed some of those drivers to almost take it, you know, an aggressive move into 1 and 2 and gain a lot of spots. As we get set to get the 1 to go from the pace car, I remind all of our viewers that each week DRL TV broadcasts live racing 3 times a week. And if you like what we're doing here, if you like a specific driver in any one of the 3 series, make sure that you hit the like, the subscribe button on YouTube, and you'll be notified anytime we go live. It's a long season. There's going to be a lot of racing, and especially in this series specifically, there's been a lot of great racing all year long. I don't expect that to change anytime soon.
Yep, as next week it's all short tracks. Richmond for the Cup cars and Xfinity cars, and Bristol for the trucks.
And then after that we have a bye week, and then on to Dega. But for here, we've got the Milwaukee Mile, still more than halfway to go as the pace car gets set to peel off. We'll watch Jeffrey Meyer, Robbie Armstrong take these guys into turn 1.
Oh, got trucks.
Chris Rice. I believe
Yeah.
something.
He was really wiggly as he came across the green flag. Might have had some tire spin, perhaps. Might have had to check up for something, but Jarrett Rogers slots into 2nd spot ahead of Robbie Armstrong. Hebel is still stuck on the outside. Back there, about the 5th position, 6th.
Now we're looking at Marvin Wingfield almost take it 3 wide. The 58 of Adam Purcell stayed out on those older tires.
Oh, he drifts up into Hebel a little bit, forces Jeremy up the track, but they sort it out. He's got the bottom cleared, does Hebel.
Wingfield looks inside of the 58. Casey Drake just behind him. Jeremy Hebel is clear of those trucks and sets his sights on Austin Collins. Oh no, a spin!
Oh,
Not a spin, but Robbie Armstrong
Jarrett
making...
Rogers and Armstrong, wow.
As we'll take a look at that in instant replay, that is significant damage for our defending Truck Series champion, Robbie Armstrong.
Man, how did they not wreck completely right there?
And it looks like Jarrett Rogers on those older tires just got loose on exit and goes right down into Robbie. And this is what we're talking about. Some of these guys have not had great luck this year. Robbie Armstrong's a shining example. And right there, you know, no fault of his own, all of a sudden he goes out of the top 5 into 6th. Oh, the 57! Oh. He is on his lid. That was a huge hit. Clearly that will bring out the caution, and if it wasn't for iRacing, that would probably bring out the ambulance, as we will ride on board.
It would. Good grief. And Jordan Berry, his rev night gets even worse. Running back there 23 laps down already.
And we'll watch one more
truck's still running,
board.
though. I don't know how that truck's still moving.
Right. We're going to watch Jordan Berry's hands as he comes up off the exit. Ouch.
Yes, ouch. That's the only word you can say about that. Well, as I was going to say before we had that happen, that if it wasn't for Robbie Armstrong being there, Jarrett Rogers might have been the one in the tire barrier, or in the sandbox right there.
Well, I'm not sure what we're going to see from these leaders as far as pit strategy. This whole field is a mess of pit strategy right now. It's almost hard for me to keep track of who has two, who has no, who has all tires. And Meyer
stays out.
Hebel
Collins
stays out.
comes in.
And Robbie
Another
Armstrong.
mixed bag.
Yeah, this is very. Corey Sherman stays out. A couple of the trucks near the back stay out. They might be a lap down, so they probably can't pit yet. But that's a bold move from Marvin Wingfield, who stays out, and he will be third on this restart. Casey Drake, who, as you could tell from that last restart, certainly didn't appreciate being that deep in the field. He will get back up inside the top 5. Dakota Wilkins, for the second time, plays the strategy game as well.
Yep, well, Adam Purcell, I believe he'll be the first one off pit road. I think Robbie Armstrong is fixing some damage right now.
Yeah, we'll see how significant his damage is. Let's see if we can get him here into the booth.
See him down there in Dysfunctional Patriots.
Robbie Armstrong, this is the DRL TV booth. You have a copy, sir?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, your good luck continues. He's, just a wrong place, wrong time there. How bad was your damage, and can you continue?
Yeah, it was 26 seconds. I should be okay. Just take my time here, working back through the field. It was kind of unfortunate. I kind of stuck it underneath of there. I saw him getting loose, and I was hoping he was going to save it. That's all right. It could have been a whole lot worse because that pit wall was coming fast.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and since you guys are running second or third, it's a good thing you guys didn't overcorrect, or you might have taken half the field with you guys.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm just glad we didn't wreck and kept on going. So, still got plenty of laps here. Got some speed. Take my time and go from there.
All right, Robbie. Well, thank you for joining us up here in the booth. Good luck getting through the field, and we know you have the speed to do it. So hopefully we talk to you at the end of this race.
Yeah, 10-4. Hope we talk to you all in a little while.
All right, that was Robbie Armstrong, defending Truck Series champ. Just very unfortunate. And we've seen that. We saw it at Auto Club. We saw it at ISM. Robbie Armstrong running great races. Just unfortunate.
Saw it at Daytona.
Yeah, we saw it at Daytona as well. Just unfortunate timing, I guess. Just the mere fact that you exist on the track leads you to being susceptible to getting taken out, even though there's obviously no fault of your own. And certainly he is a prime example of that. As we do have the 1 to go, Jeffrey Meyer leading the field. The top 7 drivers stayed out. The first truck that did pit was Austin Collins.
Yeah, this could be a mess on this restart. I mean, I love what we're seeing here, though. This ebb and flow of pit strategy, it's certainly shaking this field up a lot.
Yeah, we're just not getting the long enough green flags for everyone to almost have to come in and get 4. It's been these short little 10, 15 lap stints. We'll certainly see how this, as the race unfolds, as we are just about halfway. If we'll see how that plays at the end of this race, as Jeffrey Meyer doesn't get that great of a jump, not as good of a jump. Jeremy Hebel sticks with him quite well. Casey Drake.
Well, I wonder if he might not have gotten a good start on purpose to try to get Marvin Wingfield to cover that spot, but Hebel gets down and clears second place.
Yeah, we saw Daniel Holloway have to almost check up there for a second for Dakota Wilkins, and he is going to lose a lot of spots here. Perhaps, you can double check this for me, Taylor. Perhaps maybe the track is getting a little bit warmer. I'm seeing a lot of guys doing a lot more wiggling on the exit than we saw at the beginning of this race.
Well, actually, I hate to be the devil's advocate there, but it's actually 93, 94. Actually, it's been as cool as it's been all race.
Well, certainly, with these top guys, I saw Casey Drake kind of lose his rear end a bit. Obviously, that might be something with the rubber buildup and the fact that they are on older tires.
Jared Rogers and Robbie Armstrong are nose to tail again. This time back at about 12th and 13th. Hopefully, this time it works out smoothly. And how about Richard Springer up into the top 10 for the first time after getting caught up in the first wreck of the day?
Yeah, it seems like every time we go back and look at Richard Springer in a race, he always has a little bit of nose damage. Obviously, that's part of the the qualifying attempt there. We saw that at ISM. I remember he had nose damage almost immediately. We also saw at Daytona he had a little bit of nose damage when he was leading the race at Daytona. So you can get it done with a little bit of nose damage. Because David Lindahl goes all the way up the track.
Way up the racetrack. PJ O'Leary underneath him, along with Chris Rice.
And we're going to come up here to this battle for fourth. This is Casey Drake trying to overtake Marvin Wingfield. Marvin Wingfield stayed out to get that track position.
Oh,
and
three wide back in the back at about 8th place with Daniel Holloway, Austin Collins.
Well, how quickly it gets sorted out as we went back there. Now they're all single file, besides Springer trying to look in on Holloway. Yeah, Austin Collins running 8th after qualifying 2nd. And a lot of that is just due to the fact of the so many different varieties that we've had of pit strategy here. You talked earlier in the race, we're going to have the comers and goers, and we were speaking specifically from a tire management standpoint. Today it's been strictly from a pit strategy standpoint, as really the only mainstays up front have been Casey Drake, Jeffrey Meyer, and Jeremy Hebel.
Right now, Jeffrey Meyer about 0.2 quicker that lap. They have been running about even the last 3 or 4.
Ooh, Robbie. Oh, Springer.
Oh, look out. Into the wall goes Springer. Head on. Caution for the 5th time today.
We saw he and Robbie both get very, very loose. Almost simultaneously. It was like synchronized swimming there. Let's see. Oh, I see what happened to Jeffrey. Or I see what happened to Springer.
Oh.
He had to check up for the truck in front of him. Let's go on board with him here.
Is that Collins, I believe?
Yeah, that was the 99 of Austin Collins, and he has to check up a great deal. And
then Springer spins down the track and gets hit by PJ O'Leary, shoots him back up into the outside wall. Well, it's been another short run. Let's see what kind of strategy we get this time for the pit stops. This is the most exciting part of the race, to be honest.
Well, we talked about earlier, this is where we're going to make the most, this is your best opportunity to make passes here.
Let's see, Meyer pits. Nobody's staying out yet this time.
Well, as I noted earlier, I was questioning what the track temp was because the handling of those trucks had changed significantly, and I think these drivers are starting to catch on.
Chris Rice stayed out on the racetrack from 9th place.
So Chris Rice will stay out, and he will be chased by Jeremy Hebel. Just beats him off. Wow. Pit road exit is so tight here.
Or did he? I'm not sure. It looks like he's letting Meyer back in front of him.
And Austin Collins, Jarrett Rogers, Robbie Armstrong take 2. Everyone else takes 4. So Austin Collins and Jarrett Rogers are on the same team. Robbie Armstrong, this is his way. He, on that run there, he must have noticed that his truck, the handling of his truck was fairly decent. It looks like Chris Rice will pit now after leading that lap. That will give the lead back to Jeremy Hebel and Jeffrey Meyer. Austin Collins, Jarrett Rogers, and Robbie Armstrong will be your top 5. Casey Drake.
Well, now it's saying Hebel actually is in front of Meyer, so I thought Meyer was getting back in front of him there, so apparently Hebel did beat him off. Excuse me there. I'm curious to see what Austin Collins can do now that he's got some track position back. He'll be starting 3rd.
He'll be starting on the inside probably for the first time this race, as he at the beginning of the race he started 2nd on the outside. And we see Richard Springer still in the pits, must have gotten significant damage. All these drivers on there now that we see, Adam Breeden, Dustin Eichert, they're trying to get damage fixed from earlier cautions. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 16 trucks, or is that 17 trucks
17.
on the lead lap still? So that's, you know, more than halfway through the race. We still have, you know, we only have 5
now it says 16. But yeah, you're right. More than 2/3 of the field is still on the lead lap. So I mean, if it's like this at the end of the race, and we have some guys get together at the front, that could result in a lot of loss of positions.
Exactly. Yep. There's still a lot of movement to be had.
As we are half a lap from getting the restart, Jeremy Hebel back out front from Jeffrey Meyer, teammates Collins and Rogers in row 2.
Now watch to see what Collins and Rogers do. The Collins could either try to get a jump or almost lay back to allow his teammate to get into the inside. So just something to keep an eye on there. Some teammate strategy here could come into play.
Well, I'm not sure Robbie Armstrong would go for that, but see what happens. Hebel gets a good start.
And not so much on the teammate play there, as Casey Drake actually is able to fill that hole just behind Austin Collins. A great battle here for third between those teammates. Casey Drake, Robbie Armstrong, Corey Sherman just behind. And Marvin Wingfield.
Casey Drake, here he comes underneath Collins, got a fender alongside. Now the outside lane's actually been not too bad. I mean, it's not been effective for making a pass, but as far as maintaining, look at Rogers though, trying to fend off. Who was that back there? Marvin Wingfield. Wingfield up over the rumble strips, and here comes Corey Sherman to his inside.
Riding on board with the 6 truck of Corey Sherman. And see a huge run that Marvin gets on exit.
These guys have been able to maintain up on the one lane off the bottom, which is surprising me.
Well, while we have a moment here, what we're going to do what we do every race. We're going to take this opportunity to rev it up and let these trucks sing. And during that rev it up, we saw Marvin Wingfield try to make an attempted pass, got very, very loose, but did so. Adam Purcell still holding off Daniel Holloway for that top 10 position, and Jeffrey Meyer keeping close to Jeremy Hebel, just 0.3 of a second back.
And what I've been noticing off of turn 4, Meyer's been doing this most of the race, is he's still way down, almost, looks like he's pinching the truck off a little bit. We'll see it here as he comes through 3 and 4, closing up on Jeremy Hebel. Well, he actually didn't really do it that time, but he seem to be kind of running a lot lower on exit. He seems just as fast as Jeremy, though.
Yeah, we'll see, you know, what that does to right front, whether he's saving or actually burning it up. Behind these guys, these two trucks here have pulled away from the third place driver, Casey Drake, followed closely by Austin Collins and Robbie Armstrong, who restarted he restarted fifth, is still in fifth with that little bit of damage that he had received from the truck just behind him of Jarrett Rogers earlier in the race. So that's good news for Robbie for now.
And again on those two tires. Well, for Meyer, with having as we see Hebel up off the bottom, Meyer can't quite make it stick, but with them having a 2.5 second lead back to this third place battle, Meyer can afford to search around a little bit.
Now, normally what you would do on a flatter track like this is you would one thing you could do is you could enter a little bit higher and exit a little bit lower, like kind of what you're talking about, what Jeff was doing, and actually save tire and get a good run off. But here, these turns are so sweeping. I mean, normally when we go to a track that's a 1 mile, you're on the straightaway, and, you know, the ratio from straightaway to turn is, you know, maybe even, but it seems like when you're driving here, you're almost in the turns longer than you are on these straightaways. It's really, really unique and very, very difficult for these drivers, you know, to stay very, very consistent, because one little slight loss in your rhythm, and all of a sudden you're losing half a second to the guy in front of you.
And we were talking about Auto Club earlier. It almost kind of reminds me of that, just being a lot slower, just how long and sweeping the corners there are.
Right, I mean,
Meyer is continuing to put the pressure.
We've seen it a couple times already where one little misstep on entry, I mean, it ruins your center, it ruins your ability to roll, it ruins your exit, and you go from being 2/10 behind to being, you know, half a second behind in just one turn. And that's all it takes. And right there, we just saw it there, Jeffrey Meyer lost a ton of time there on Hebel. Maybe seeing the effects of his unique line in 3 and 4 as Hebel kind of pulls away there now on that end of the track. Now behind him we have Jarrett Rogers trying to hold off the attempting advancing truck of Marvin Wingfield, and behind him having a great run so far, Corey Sherman. He's been a mainstay in the top 10 all day, even with the different pit strategy that we've seen.
Yeah, Sherman's definitely needed a run like this. Comes in here 14th in points.
And Mr. hasn't, you know, he's got the force field up on his truck. Mr. Spin 3 times and not hit anything. Matt Vanderkoy is in 14th. A little bit off the pace currently, but you know, he's got a clean truck, which is, he can say that, you know, that's something that some of these trucks in this field can't say right now. And Dakota Wilkins.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I wonder what happened to him. Oh, actually a couple laps ago. Oh, he got super sideways, almost actually surprised I didn't bring out a caution. He basically spun
actually
to the inside of 1 and 2, battling David Lindahl.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a replay of that, and there we go. This is... We see now that what we're watching right now is what happened to Dakota Wilkins. He was kind of already in the back anyway, which was surprising. And he dives it in there in front of David Lindahl, and he's able to maintain it. He actually has to back up in order to get back onto the racing surface. So that's a huge loss of time for our Daytona champion.
Yeah, especially since there was no caution there. Richard Springer is back out on the racetrack, 14 laps down in 22nd.
And something that happened while we were looking at that replay, Jeffrey Meyer took the lead over from Jeremy Hebel. So
he's starting to pull away a little bit.
Jeffrey Meyer made that pass. Wow.
Yeah, made it look easy off of oh, that's what it was. Hebel. Actually, it wasn't quite. That's why it was so easy, because Hebel had a big time wiggle. Almost ended up down in the inside wall off of turn 4 a few laps ago.
So we talked about that interesting line Jeffrey Meyer was taking out of 3 and 4, and apparently it has paid off, because Meyer, if I recall, I haven't seen a wiggle or anything out of that truck all day, so he's got the handling down. As we're watching Casey Drake in third, and just behind him, Robbie Armstrong, trying to get past the 0-2 of Chris Rice, who is a lap down now, and set his sights on Austin Collins. So lap traffic's starting to come into play a little bit here.
And PJ O'Leary has gone a second lap down now. Not a great night for our fourth points man, as Hebel is searching now to try to get that lead back. It just gets really loose off again off of turn 4. This is definitely the well, never mind. I was about to say it's the longest green flag run, but now we got another caution. Oh, up on Marvin Wingfield on the front straightaway. Up against the inside wall, actually sitting on top of the wall. Along with Robbie Armstrong, my goodness.
Yeah, we went back right to Robbie. We'll try to get, oh my goodness. Well, we see there a little bit of mayhem. Let's try to see what happened.
Oh man, Marvin Wingfield just T-bones him.
On exit, Robbie Armstrong, overcorrects it, hits him. Oh, and Marvin Wingfield, absolutely. And Holloway gets involved.
Yeah, Holloway with a lot of damage on the right rear and on the front end.
We were watching out of the view of Marvin, who was in the middle of a 3-wide battle.
Looks like Jared Rogers also got turned around, but man, what a change of events here.
And
everybody should be making their way towards pit road here.
And just as that happens, huge overcast over the track. So that's going to change the handling of these trucks significantly. One thing we're going to see if we can do is we're going to try to bring in Marvin Wingfield here back up into the broadcast booth. Marvin, do you have a copy, sir?
Yeah, I got you.
What a race you were having. You were all up and down the board because of varying pit strategy, but there at the end, it seems like you had kind of leveled up just around that top 5 mark. In the middle of a 3-wide battle and a truck spins in front of you, you know, how heartbreaking is that for you?
I don't even know, man. Like I can't believe that just happened. I was fighting out there. I'm sweating real bad right now. I couldn't get around them lap cars, and the one in front of me, I don't know who it is. Man, that's very, very frustrating. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, we brought up a couple examples of reasons why your luck hasn't been great this season, and that's just another one where, you know, a truck loses control in front of you and there's just nothing you can do, and you went for a heck of a ride. How much damage do you have?
Oh, I'm done. Engine's gone, but team did real well. I gotta thank my sponsors, Backfish and KLR. They did really good, but we'll get them next week.
All right, Marvin. Well, we will see you next week at Bristol. Heck of a run you had.
Gosh, what's going on up at the front?
Thanks,
Robbie
guys. You'll have a
Armstrong.
good one.
Yep.
Yeah, apologize to Marvin there. Robbie Armstrong stayed out the lead a lap, and then his motor went kaboom on him under caution, turn 1. So I believe that's going to be the end of his night. Jeremy Hebel won the race off pit road. Jeffrey Meyer went from 1st to 4th after sliding through his pit box.
Now let's ride on board with Robbie here. It almost seemed like he might have accidentally downshifted. we'll check. We'll check and see what happens here. No, he had downshifted, and yeah, and then it just gave out. And in Milwaukee Mile fashion, he just automatically spun for some reason. That's what everyone's doing today in the middle of turn 1 and 2.
Same spot on the racetrack too.
Well, we mentioned at the top of this broadcast, this racetrack broke ground in 1899, Taylor. It was completed in 1903, so it could possibly be haunted. I don't know. I mean,
you never know, right?
As a crew chief or as a race engineer, you can't really plan for the spirit of the Milwaukee Mile. You can only plan for the race surface. So,
well, you know how us racers are. I mean, we're pretty. You know, we got all our things that we're gonna think or give us bad luck.
You're right. Yeah, no, it's very superstitious.
Yep, superstitious. We're gonna have 28 laps to go. Casey Drake up on the front row for the first time, and
the track is going to be significantly cooler with all this overcast that we've had while pacing. These trucks they're going to throw them down here into turn 1 and 2, and they're actually probably going to stick pretty well. So we'll see what happens here as we get set with just 30 laps to go.
Good start by Hebel.
Good start by Hebel and Austin Collins, who gets inside of Casey Drake there.
Yep, not able to fill that hole. Well, now he does is he gets a good exit. Meyer able to clear Collins.
So Austin Collins goes from attempting a pass for second to falling back to fourth.
You know Meyer's hungry now and probably pretty upset at himself for overshooting his pit stall. He's gonna, as Casey Drake kind of woes up in front of him, and he's gonna make a bid for second here. And as these laps are winding down, he's going to be hunting that lead as quick as possible.
We're watching Casey Drake fall back in line with Jeffrey Meyer, and if I were Casey Drake right now, I would have followed Jeffrey Meyer in his tire tracks, because one thing he's doing very well, he's doing a great job of being there after about 15 laps or so. You know, he was able to
look, Dakota Wilkins, turn 1 and 2, gets it back under him.
We'll get a replay of that. Dakota Wilkins entering 1 and 2 under Roy Grande Jr. Dove it in there very, very hard. Now, one thing you'll notice is the track surface is a lot lighter. You know, the cloud cover has gone away, so the things that you could do a few laps ago are now going to not work as well.
We now have on the lead lap after that last crash, and what this has done as some of the top players has been eliminated here. That's a lot of these guys. David Lindahl up into 7th, Roy Grande Jr. 8th after being a lap down. William Wingfield in 11th, racing for 10th with Adam Purcell. So one Wingfield is still up here.
Yes, and because of all the laps, the trucks that we have a lap down now, you see the damaged trucks of P.J. O'Leary up to 13th. All of a sudden that damage that he had isn't quite as bad. He can kind of lick his wounds and move on to Bristol next week. But we also see, David Wellborn up to 15th. We see, to your point, William Wingfield, who hadn't been running very strong. Yeah, he's up to 11th. So
even with the front end damage he's got, and Matt Vanderkooi, if he gets a caution right here, can get the lucky dog after 3 close calls, spinning, and 2 occasions not hitting anything, and the 3rd occasion getting very minimal damage.
Well, and to your point, of all the trucks that are 1 lap down from positions 12 to 23.
Oh, look out, Jared Rogers spinning in turn 2. Is this the caution that Matt Vanderkooi is going to want? Not yet. Stay under green.
And the caution does not come out. He did spin off the racing surface. And to your point from earlier, even though he spun, he's still only in 11th spot right now. instead of being in 17th or 18th where he would have been, 40 laps ago. But we've seen Jarrett Rogers struggle with some handling issues, and we've seen a lot of drivers struggle with some handling issues. Milwaukee Mile is kind of a unique race here in the Dynasty Racing League. Normally we follow what iRacing does during the week previous, what they have for officials. But one of the reasons why it was changed is because last week the official race was Texas, and that would have been 3 races this season that Texas would have been on the schedule, so he swapped it out for the Milwaukee Mile. So a lot of these guys don't have a whole lot of track time, so they're just figuring this stuff out on the fly.
Yep, they sure are, and up front, getting tight again for the lead between Hebel and Meyer as they come across with 20 laps to go.
Casey Drake still holding strong in third. Austin Collins, ooh, look at, that's Jeffrey Meyer's bumper. That's exactly what that looks like, in case you were wondering, as we were looking back out of Jeremy Hebel's rear bumper here.
That's what I was talking about. Meyer knew he made a mistake on pit road, and plus, I mean, we know how aggressive he is anyway. He's going to be fighting tooth and nail to try to get this win, and instead extend that point lead. Really driving in hard as they go underneath the lap truck of Chris Rice.
And that allows Hebel to kind of, because Jeffrey Meyer wasn't able to use the whole track on exit, it allows Hebel to get a little bit of a buffer zone here. But Jeffrey Meyer hunted him down and is now en route to try to take this pass at some point.
Austin Collins got by Casey Drake behind them for third.
And that puts Casey Drake in fourth, Corey Sherman in fifth, David
Caution is out. Jarrett Rogers again.
He was fighting with William Wingfield for position.
Wingfield, yep.
And Wingfield kind of just pushes right up into him, so, very unfortunate for Jarrett Rogers. That was not of his own doing.
Well, again, I mean, not very minimal contact for William Wingfield. So they both got away with it a little bit, and that's the caution Matt Vanderkoy was hoping for. This time he'll get the free pass.
Now we'll see what leaders do what here as far as pit strategy. We're going to see someone do 2 tires. I don't think it's very wise to take the no tire strategy here, but I could see a David Lindahl, a Dakota Wilkins take 2, someone who's kind of just outside the top 5 and get that that track position that's very hard to get here at Milwaukee.
I don't expect we'll see anybody stay out like we saw earlier, but here they all come. Oh, maybe not. Top 3.
Casey Drake comes in.
Casey Drake comes in.
Dakota Wilkins also stays out.
Corey Sherman is in. David Lindahl is in. Wow, I wasn't expecting that at all.
Now we'll see if they take 2 or 4 here watching Casey Drake. He was the first truck in.
He's taking 4. Which I think is a good move. And you'll win the race off pit road.
But that puts him back to 7th spot with 15 laps to go. My goodness. And normally I wouldn't stay out, or normally I would think staying out's a bad call, but so many people did it that it's going to work out for Jeremy Hebel, Jeffrey Meyer, Austin Collins, and those guys there. William Wingfield has yet to pit as well, which not quite sure if I like that, considering he was just involved in an incident. Hopefully he decides to pit now.
No, he doesn't.
No, he does not. He does stay out.
Interesting. But, I talk about a game changer. No, I guess in some way. Casey Drake, who's been up in the top 3 or 4, is going to have to come from 7th in only about 12, 13 laps if he wants to get his first DRL win.
While we have a moment, let's pull in Austin Collins, our third place driver right now. Austin, do you have a copy here in the DRL TV booth?
I got you loud and clear.
Well, right now you're in third. You just decided to stay out there. You've got some trucks behind you that stayed out as well. A little bit of a buffer zone before you get back to the first truck that did pit. What's your strategy here, and do you have anything for our top two?
I do not have anything at all for them two. They're bad fast. My plan here is just hope these guys behind me keep the 87 back there long enough. Hope for my best finish of the year.
Well, we know your teammate hasn't had this, the greatest of luck here today, but hopefully your luck can continue as you finish or you run third down. Hopefully you can be there at the end, and we'll talk to you at the end of this race.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah, he needs to bring this home. Coming in here 24th in points, actually missed 2 races, so this is a big opportunity for him.
This is a big opportunity, and it also is a good opportunity because he starts on the inside, and Casey Drake, the truck that he will be trying to fight off with the 4 fresh tires, is starting on the outside.
It's gonna get exciting. No other way to put it. As I have 13 laps racing here to go.
Jeffrey Meyer, Jeremy Hebel will lead these guys to the start. Pace car is off, and Hebel is gone. Meyer is gone. Meyer will be able to get down on the inside, and Austin Collins will be side by side with Dakota, and Casey Drake, that yellow M&M's 87 truck, will have those 4 fresh tires as he tries to hunt these guys down in 5th. He's currently in 5th spot right now.
One thing, Casey Drake, I mean, we're going to see him try to, he's going to use the bumper if he has to, I would think, as he gets underneath Dakota Wilkins, or at least tries to. Here he goes again. Well, got Dakota loose a little bit, and he's up into 4th now.
And the 58 of Adam Purcell trying to take a look in the inside of Dakota Wilkins. The 87 sets his sights on the 99 of Austin Collins, who we just interviewed, and was hoping that those guys would hold him up probably a little bit longer than what they did, as he is now approaching his rear bumper. And also up front, we've got Jeremy Hebel, Jeffrey Meyer, 0.3 of a second separates those 2 drivers.
Well, now that Casey has a little bit of clean track, not quite. Now as we see Austin Collins way up the hill, he might get that spot.
Now,
see what kind of times they put down here. Hebel 30 flat, Casey Drake also 30 flat. Hebel actually a little quicker than Drake that time.
Yeah, the fastest truck was 29.9 of Jeffrey Meyer, who is, if these guys battle it out for a little bit, they're going to have a handful of 4 fresh tire Casey Drake. We have just 9 laps to go. This could get very, very interesting here in West Allis, Wisconsin.
That'll be really interesting if we get a caution now, and that would put Casey Drake 2nd on the inside. Hebel sideways. Up the hill he goes, and around he goes into the wall. Actually keeps it straight after hitting the wall, but he's going to backslide all the way to the end of the lead lap, and Jeffrey Meyer.
We're watching here, and for the 2nd race in a row, Jeremy Hebel foregoes a top 5 finishing position, and this gives Jeffrey Meyer an opportunity to maintain a gap over Casey Drake, who does have those 4 fresh tires. My goodness.
What a shame. Hebel trying to fight for whatever he can now, gets underneath Purcell for 9th.
But this move,
man, to drive 117 laps, have a great strategy, a fast truck, and then have it all end like that. That's got to be frustrating.
But we've got a battle for 4th here. Dakota Wilkins, Corey Sherman, and look who is just behind him in 6th position, Roy Grande.
Roy Grande.
What a great rebound from him. Now, Casey Drake is a little bit faster, but he's got to catch Jeffrey Meyer at a quicker pace than this if he's even going to get to him, much less try to pass him.
Yeah, we're coming to 6 to go. Meyer a 30.26. Casey Drake a 34. So Meyer's actually pulling away. Yeah, look at Casey up on the rumble strip there trying to chop off some of this lead, but it just doesn't look like it's happening.
Yeah, right now we're watching this battle for 4th and 5th between Corey Sherman, Dakota Wilkins, and Dakota Wilkins, who had a solo spin earlier, was way off the pace. Now has an opportunity to still get a top 5 here if he can hold off the charging David Lindahl, who passes Roy Grande. And Jarrett Rogers just behind them.
Yeah, give a call to David Lindahl. Fought through all day. His truck looks pretty clean, and here he is in 6th.
Yeah, well, we're watching Jeremy Hebel try to take that position away from Roy Grande. And he does. That puts Roy Grande in a position to still have a good top 10 finish here at Milwaukee. But we're going to go back up here to the leaders. Now, Jeffrey Meyer, that last time by, they were even. As far as the time between he and Casey Drake, barring a catastrophic slip-up from Jeffrey Meyer, I just don't think Casey Drake has the time to A, catch him, and B, pass him.
Now he gained a couple tenths that time, but you're right. He's going to have to cut in more than that. Coming around to get 2 to go this time. I wonder if, I mean, you'd think as hungry as Casey would be that he would use the bumper on Meyer if he gets there.
Well, that time he definitely gained some time on him. It's down to 0.6 of a second here at the Milwaukee Mile with 2 laps to go. It is just a 2-man race now as Austin Collins is 2 seconds back at Casey Drake. 0.3 of a second behind him is Corey Sherman. Dakota Wilkins rounding out the top 5. David Lindahl just behind Dakota Wilkins. And that there are great battles there. As we will move back here just for 1 second. 4 trucks battling for that top 6, just outside top 5.
Casey almost lost it off turn 4 that time as we get the white flag. Yeah, he lost half a second that time, and it looks like
Corey
Jeffrey
Sherman.
Meyer. Oh!
He comes in hard on Austin Collins, and he's trying to get this spot from him. What a run.
Yeah, this is for 3rd spot, but up front, Jeffrey Meyer, our points leader, is going to come through, benefit from the issue with Jeremy Hebel, and score the win at Milwaukee. 3rd place, we'll go to Corey Sherman.
And David Lindahl just barely, I think, edges out Jarrett Rogers. Actually, Jarrett Rogers did beat him off the corner and did end up getting that position. So Jarrett Rogers finishes 6th, David Lindahl 2nd, Jeremy Hebel in a heartbreaking 8th position. My goodness. But Jeffrey Meyer, his first official win of the Dynasty Racing League Truck Series this season, will extend his points lead. Not by a lot, though, because the person chasing him in the points also was chasing him in 2nd on the track. So another great run by Casey Drake, and watching Jeffrey Meyer enjoy his race win here at the Milwaukee Mile. Great run by him. Let's start our interviews off with pulling in our 3rd place driver, Corey Sherman, if we can find him.
Yeah, I don't see him.
I do. We got him.
There
Corey
he
Sherman.
is, yep.
Corey Sherman, do you have a copy, sir?
Yeah, I got you guys.
What a move there to get around Austin Collins for that third place spot. You had an up and down day, but you come home 3rd. Tell us about your race overall, buddy.
Oh yeah, that was a fun race. I did some practice this week to learn the track, and it was definitely loose coming out of the corners. But yeah, I'm sweating from that one. That was close at the end there. I knew I was catching on them. I had 4 fresh tires, so I guess it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely paid off. Now, this is certainly the run that you needed, looking at the point standings. Yeah, you have to be inside that top 12, and this is going to help out a lot as you were just outside of it in 14th when we started this race. Now, as we go into Bristol next week, is that a strong track for you, or is that a track where you're going to kind of try to just, make it through and move on to our bye week?
No, I actually like Bristol, so I'm actually excited for Bristol next week.
Well, hopefully this is a good springboard moving you back to Bristol. You showed a lot there, especially on that power move past Austin Collins. Taylor, do you have anything here for Corey Sherman?
Yeah, just a really great shot in the arm, if you ask me. After a kind of a tough start to the season, and good luck at Bristol next week, man.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Well, before we let you go, Corey Sherman, this is one of the few opportunities so far this season that we've been able to speak to you. If you can, please give your shout-outs here for anyone that might be watching.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Savage Edge Graphics, Gale's Cut and Corner, you guys for putting this on. This is my first season in the trucks. I did the winter season with you guys, and this is a great league to be in, so thanks for having me.
Awesome, Corey. Well, good luck next week, and congratulations on your top 3 this week.
Thanks a lot.
Now we're going to bring in our runner-up finisher, Casey Drake, in the number 87 M&M's Toyota. Casey, you got a copy, sir? This is the booth. Well, another race where you qualify mid-pack and make your way towards the front. Another runner-up finish, although the man that you're chasing for in points did end up getting the win. But how many more laps did you need after making the call for 4 tires there?
Probably, I don't think I was catching him like a little bit at the end. I think like 0.2 a lap. I probably could have gone like 5 more laps. I maybe could have gone to his back bumper, but he was really fast all day. Congrats to him on the win. I feel like maybe 5 more laps probably.
Yeah, well, you're getting closer to that win. We know how hungry you are. I probably know the answer to this question, but if you could have gotten to his back bumper, would you have moved him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Casey, congrats again on your second place. We moved to next week at Bristol. Is Bristol a good opportunity for you to kind of keep this momentum up, or is it one of those tracks that maybe you struggled at in the past?
I feel like Bristol will be good for me. I'm pretty good at Bristol. I haven't ran a truck race yet this week, but I'm planning on doing a couple of C-Fix to practice. So I'll see probably how those go and kind of like plan accordingly. But in the past, I have been pretty decent at Bristol.
Awesome, Casey. Well, while we have you, sir, why don't you give us any shout-outs that you might have?
I'd like to thank DRL for hosting all these league races, and I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and thanks all the racers for coming out and racing.
All right, Casey. Well, hopefully we speak to you again next week after what could be a good finish at Bristol, and congrats on your finish and keeping that points position of yours locked down for now.
Thank you.
And that was Casey Drake, but let's bring in the man of the hour here. We have Jeffrey Meyer joining us in the booth. Jeffrey Meyer, congratulations on your win, man. I mean, you've been so close all season. You had it at Atlanta. You had the speed at Auto Club. Today it was between you and Jeremy, and what went through your mind as you saw Hebel get loose in 1 and 2 there?
Oh, it just blew me away. I didn't know what happened there. He just took a hard right.
Well, yeah, we were both in shock when that happened too.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, you were already the points leader, and obviously you can get in on points if you're in the top 12. But this win, solidifies currently, your opportunity to run, in the playoffs. Which I know your aspirations are just bigger than making the playoffs. But right now, is there any relief knowing that you finally have that win this season? Last season you had to wait until all the way till our first playoff race, and now you get it just 8 races in, what does that do for your mentality overall?
It was bound to happen. It was. I'm glad it's over, but I was going to get one of these, and I don't know what I'd have done. I don't know what I'd have done if got down to the last few laps with Jeremy. I haven't got touched him all race, and I don't think I would have, but I would have definitely tried to get inside of him, and I seen him get loose a few times, and I maybe could have got a better run off the corner, and maybe tried some different stuff. I don't think I would have got to his bumper if for the win though.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw during the race that you had a very shallow entry, especially in 1 and 2, and more importantly in 3 and 4, you also had a very shallow exit. Is that something that you kind of came up with as far as something that you saw that maybe was saving tires, or was that really just the fastest way around? Because honestly, you were really the only one doing it.
To me, it seemed like my fastest way around. I was able to. I noticed I was getting on the gas a lot quicker coming out of the corner because I could straighten it out a lot quicker. I was getting on the gas a lot sooner than the guys in front of me, and that's normally where I made my passes, was coming out of 4.
Well, I mean, what a great run. Taylor, do you have anything here for Jeff?
I certainly agree with you that it was just a matter of time before you broke into victory lane, and once again you extend your points lead. How you feel about Bristol next week?
That one will be a fun one. At least I don't have to worry about. I'm just going to try to do what I can. I think I'll be good there. Been practicing with a few other teams, and so we've been working hard. I work sometimes with S2R, so we'll get her done.
Well, Jeff, again, congratulations on your win. Very happy for you that you were able to get it now instead of waiting, almost to the end of the year. Kind of solidifies the fact that you are, very, very much a championship favorite, along with, people like Richard Springer, Jeremy Hebel, and the driver behind you, Casey Drake. Give us any shout-outs that you might have here, buddy.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to everybody that ran towards the frontier. Everybody raced nice and clean. It was great. It's too bad what happened to Hebel. He was definitely the one to beat. You guys in the booth for doing your job. You do a really good job. And DRL for putting on the league.
All right, Jeffrey. Well, again, always a pleasure to speak with you, and you're now officially a race winner this season. We'll see you next week at Bristol.
All right, got one for bad boys.
Yeah, and it's only a matter of time before your teammate breaks through as well. I know he had some rough luck today as well.
Yeah, that was too bad. He had I think a top 5 going if he wouldn't have gotten that wreck.
All right, Jeff. Well, again, always appreciate the time. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we'll take this opportunity to go through the results here. Jeffrey Meyer leading 42 of the 125 laps. Jeffrey Meyer does get the point for leading the most, but obviously not the finish that he wanted to have. Casey Drake finishing second. Austin Collins and Dakota Wilkins ends up getting another top 5, even at Rockingham last week, he got that top 5 at the end of the race. Even though he wasn't really in the top 5 for some of the first part of the race, he actually spun and he was almost a full lap down. So great rebound from him. I'm looking back at some of these other guys. A lot of late race wrecks brought carnage to a lot of good drivers: Robbie Armstrong, PJ O'Leary, Holloway, Richard Springer. Incredible what this is probably going to do to the points below the 2 drivers that finished 1-2 here. Now, Taylor, as we get ready for Bristol next week, give us your closing statements here for today and what you look forward to next week.
Well, today, I really enjoyed the varying pit strategy and how some drivers were able to make it work with old tires and how some others were able to make it work with fresh tires. And Bristol is going to be another place next week where track position is critical, and keeping a cool head under you will be just as important.
Yeah, well, that's no lie. As we're and I've been making a habit of doing this every week, but we'll do it now again. I'm going to pull up the point standings that we have from our league website, DynastyRacingLeague.com. You can see there, Jeffrey Meyer maintains the lead over Casey Drake, extends it just a bit. Jeremy Hebel and Dakota Wilkins actually move up even after Jeremy Hebel kind of had a rough run because of the bad races by Robbie Armstrong, PJ O'Leary. So big movement there, especially from Austin Collins, and right around that cutoff area, Daniel Holloway sits in 12th. Corey Sherman sits in 13th. Very, very tight if you look at the intervals between these positions. So, but right now you can see Jeffrey Meyer, Casey Drake are actually starting to almost separate themselves from the rest of this field, which is again, it's impressive what Casey Drake has been able to do this season. Easily the most improved driver so far. But Bristol next week, 150 laps. Our next broadcast will be on Monday. Coming to you live from Richmond with Ryan Branch and Martin Wenzel with the Cup Series. This will be another one of the firsts that we have in that new package. The first time we've been to Richmond with improved grip, but still the same amount of horsepower rather. So that'll be next week. And again, if you like this broadcast, any other broadcasts that we have, please hit the like and subscribe button. As this has been a presentation from DRL TV here at the Milwaukee Mile. Congratulations to Jeffrey Meyer on his first win of the season. Taylor Butcher Benjamin beside me, I thank you very much. And to all the viewers, thank you for tuning in. I'm Getty Buckner. This has been DRL TV. We'll see you next week.